You know I'm finna straight talk noise, right?
Nah, you gonna make me get on your ass on air. Lock us in. We live.
You been doing that. That ain't nothing new.
We live though.
That ain't nothing new.
So we live. That's what I
ain't
was
Oh, I'm
asking.
sorry. Yes, we're live.
Oh, okay. Well, put on your professional voice. I'm gonna get off the top right now, man. We live, y'all. How y'all doing, man? It's your boy Los, man.
And this is Katrina.
And we got a guest host on here, man. Our boy Leon Benson, aka L Bentley. I know him as LB. Before we get any further and do the introductions to my mans, I want to read this disclaimer because y'all know me and her be butting heads about this. And if I don't do it right and right away, we tend to end up in the fisticuffs. So let me go on and get this out the way, y'all. This podcast is a platform for conversation, education, and community dialogue. The views expressed by hosts or guests are their own and do not represent any organization, institution, or group. We do not promote violence, illegal activity, or harm of any kind. Our discussions may include difficult or controversial topics, but our goal is understanding, accountability, and change. We ask our audience to engage respectfully. Allegations, accusations, and naming the suspects without verified information will not be allowed. Please don't. The space exists to amplify voices, honor those impacted, and work toward unity and solutions in our community. All right, y'all. Now we got that out the way. I want to address a few things. You know, this is April. This is Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and that seemed a bit, a bit like wowish, right? I didn't know it was Sexual Assault Awareness Month, but I seen it all over the news this morning, and like, oh well, it only makes sense why we talking about that this week. And while we having my man's on here, LB, Leon Benson. Brief intro about Leon. He's the CEO of 448 Productions, director of the Solitary Justice Project, and he's an exoneree. He got serving over 25 years in the DOC, Department of Corruption. Now they say serving. I say being deprived of his life for 25 years. Especially for something you ain't do. See, when you in them tombs and you know you guilty, it's kind of easier to sleep at night. You know what I'm saying? That's just the reality. But when you innocent and you in there, I can't even imagine. Like, every night what you going through, what you feeling, and you had to do it for decades around people that could take your life, or you might have to take theirs just because they had a bad day. Or just had a breakdown because the time or the conditions that became too difficult to deal with. But you in here, you ain't even supposed to be in here.
Right.
Yeah, talk about trauma. but yeah, so we finna sit here, man, and hit y'all with some little tidbits and some facts, man, that maybe y'all don't know about. But some of y'all listening probably didn't experience some of this, and I wish y'all would tap in, man, and kind of share y'all experience and not be ashamed. Of what y'all went through, or maybe what y'all going through, and hopefully we can, bring about some change. But there's a stat that says 1 in 6 boys, will be sexually abused before they reach age 18. 1 in 6. Now, typically, when I think about sexual abuse, I associate it with females, right? That's just how misguided I've been. That's how I've been brought up. I never associated sexual abuse or sexual assault with men, with boys, right? And then you start hearing the sexual assault, you automatically think of men raping women or doing something weird to a woman or a young girl. You don't think about boys. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that just blew me. Only about 15% of sexual assaults against men are formally reported, right? 15%. Why you think that is? Probably a shame.
Machismo.
Yeah, machismo. Yep. Which is nearly half the reporting rate of women. So 15% for men and about 30% for women is what the stat is saying.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's crazy.
I was also reading that the 50% of the male victims that this happened to, it happened before the age of 10.
So these young boys.
Yeah. So just think about how that makes a man continue throughout life where he goes, he's trying to show that he's a man. And when I say machismo, he's trying to make himself more of a man, possibly because this happened to him.
Overcompensation.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got that after the last bell ready?
Yes.
Yeah. Hey, I wanna introduce After the Last Bell. Hey, to everybody out here, this is a phenomenal record. It comes from a real place. The artist that done this is Philip Stroud. You know, and I happen to be incarcerated with Philip Stroud. You know, I know Philip Stroud, you know, very impactful, you know, on the inside. And he put this song out. And after it's played, I'm gonna give you a little more background. It's available on all platforms. So you know, hey, 448 Productions continue to keep putting out good music from real people. So it's an honor, man, to play this on, you know, Sandbox to the cell block. Like it's a real thing, man. I appreciate y'all.
Thank you. And let's get the party started.
Shout out, Phil.
Let me know if y'all can hear it. Hold on, this my computer a little slow today for some reason. Can you hear it?
I don't remember the moment, I remember the after. The way rooms got smaller, the way laughter got faster. I remember learning exit before I learned names. How I laughed at the wrong time so nobody could explain. Got good at reading weather in the middle of the room. Every silence felt loaded, every kindness felt doomed. I didn't have language, so I folded the sound, put a lock on my throat, and swallowed it down. Nobody told me what to call what I felt, so I called it nothing and blame myself. After the last bell, I stayed where I stood. Everybody went home. I learned how not to. I learned how to smile with my hands in my sleeves. Learned how to disappear without ever leaving. I learned jokes before honesty, time before trust. I learned how to flinch, but not who to discuss. I could feel it in echoes, in the way doors would close, in the way I stayed alert, even half asleep at home. I thought if I stayed agreeable, I'd stay safe. If I stayed small, I wouldn't take up space. So I practiced being easy, practiced being numb, practiced not needing what I already lost once. They said time heals everything, but time just passed, and I learned how to live like it never exists. After the last bell, I stayed where I stood. Everybody went home. I learned how not to. I learned how to laugh at the edge of a joke. Learn how to keep secrets I never spoke. It wasn't one night, it was every night after. It wasn't the sound, it was what happened to laughter. It wasn't my body, it was what it learned. How to lock every door, how to stay unconcerned. After the last bell, something closed in me. I kept showing up, but I'm fully seen. I didn't break loud, I broke discreet. I just learned how to carry it quiet and deep. Some things don't end, they just stop ringing.
All right. Before you start, trying to get back to y'all. Sorry. Before you start, Leon, we have to put this out there or they'll take the music down. So this was written by Phil Philip Stroud, and performed by Michael D. Winston Jr. And we do have permission to play this music.
Definitely. Hey, y'all heard the song, I mean, as far as like just musical aesthetic, it's a great aesthetic. It's a meditation song. It's a song that's really lo-fi for you to really think. This song was created by Philip Stroud, and he was definitely in on the direction of it, and we produced it like in a way that people can heal, because one thing about healing is you got to acknowledge the problem. So let's talk about what this song is really talking about. Philip Stroud, a man, he's doing life in prison, for a crime he didn't commit in South Bend, Indiana. I knew Philip Stroud. I met him while on lockup back in 2004. And, he was on death row. He got off death row. And, when he was able to get back to population, he hit the ground running on positivity, on, creating programs, on healing. So I seen Philip from afar, even though it was up close at first. When you in a solitary confinement environment, it's like you connected with minds and spirits. It's really hard to explain, but it's real. And, me and Philip, we ended up at the same facility at Pendleton Correctional Facility when he got transferred there from 15 to 19. And again, he hit the ground running. We was able to collaborate and, create programs like True Self, Changing Lives Through Literacy. We created a Toastmaster club that was phenomenal. We was teaching, justice, criminal justice students, college students. We taught 3 semesters, and was able to teach them, public speaking, how to be authentic. And, me and Phil took a great deal of pride in doing this because we were talking to future policemen, judges, prosecutors. But one thing about Phil, he's a fellow artist. I'm an artist as well. We got to perform a lot at Pendleton, be on the institutional TV. But this thing with Phil that came out while we was inside amongst, a population and audience of, men that's in there for horrendous crimes, men who are in there who are violent, men who are in there that's suffering, mental wellness issues, because of the carceral situation and because of what happened before, undealt with situations. He, was vulnerable and shared that when he was young, he was a young boy, he was sexually molested. And, this is like unheard. I'm like, damn. I'm like, what? But as I sat there and I absorbed what he was saying with the level of truth, beyond that veil of hypermasculinity, but going into a deeper depth of empathy, of understanding that everyone has a story and the things that we lived through impacted us. So if you do not recognize those, post points in your life that impacted you, you would never be able to get past it. And that was a level of his healing. He shared that publicly. And what happened was other men started coming forward. Like, when I was young, I was molested too. And then we start to realize that many of these men, not the huge populace of everybody that's in prison, but I'm saying about 30% at least, and this is the catalyst behind their criminality, their hyper masculinity, and they never could tell nobody. They suffered in silence. So as they felt shame for being a man, and something like this happened to him, for the stigma of speaking out and saying, hey, I was sexually abused as a man, people, they shun them and don't give men a lot of grace. And then you get you know, the insecurity, the low self-esteem. And this is what, you know, caused a lot of young men to join gangs, to do the most violent things, to let people know, don't play with me like that no more. Nobody would never do me like that. You know, this made men not trust other men, you know, and, you know, it's a sad thing, but this what came out of, you know, Philip Stroud, you know, Indiana prisoner, you know, again, you know, one of my brothers, you know, to come out and say that. And he was able to do this song, write the lyrics, you know, let his nephew perform it. You know, I produced, you know, the beats and everything. And it came out so good. Those are his words. And when you look at it, picture this. Somebody who was sexually abused and they can't talk to nobody.
Yeah.
He said that he laughed with his hands in his sleeve. He was looking for an exit. Like,
before you, yeah.
His body wasn't his body. His body was responding. So after the last bill is, damn, I have to go home, or I got to go back to this place of abuse and trauma.
But something else that was said in there was he was practicing being numb.
Yes.
How does that affect the brain of a young child? And I know we're talking about males right now, but just think about that in females and males. I mean, it can make a girl into a woman that has problems with her body image. It can make, again, a man come into play, just like, I'm not what people think I am because it's happened to me. That's some deep shit right there.
So I'm gonna tell you, I want to pivot on that. So you know, my background right now, I'm a serious, you know, mental illness support specialist, trauma informed reentry specialist, a recovery coach. I'm an advocate for mental wellness, and you know, the key thing is a mental challenge. How do we respond? Poverty is a mental challenge, and of course, you know, sexual assault is a mental challenge. And so let's pivot on the kids. It's a thing called ACEs, and that stands for adverse childhood experiences. And you know, everybody have them. It's an ACE. It's a scale that you can take, and if you score over a certain amount of numbers on the questions that you answer yes to, you suffer from ACEs. And so you asked about the brain impact. You know, stress causes the brain to fear, you know, to have a fear center, you know, sometimes. And, you know, this is where you got the amygdala. The amygdala is a part of your brain that records emotion. So I'm sure you heard Maya Angelou say, hey, people will forget what you did to them. They'll forget, you know, what you said, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. And this is why trauma is so complex, because you might not, especially a child, they can't articulate exactly what happened, but they know that something is wrong, and they carry that is just very big. And then when we talk about like incarceration, you know, incarcerated men often report nearly 4 times as many adverse events in childhood than an average male. So that adverse childhood need not be just, you know, sexual assault. It can be violence, you know. And I'm sad to say, like, the first person I seen shot was in my own household. You know, I remember coming in the house, seeing so much blood that I could smell the copper. I could taste pennies in my mouth. That was adverse. I didn't have nobody to talk to about that. And you can imagine the sexual part. I guess you could say, you know, incarcerated individuals who were in prison since childhood report an average ACE score of 6.38 out of 10. That's high. Anything that go over, you know, 5, that's just on average. So we dealing with trauma. And so Yeah, I mean, that's the gist. And I really commend Phil for sharing his voice, his lived experience with what he going through to try to platform this for the world. Why? Frederick Douglass said it best. It is easier to fix hurt children than to fix broken men.
Why? Because there's not that much experience to sift through, to sort out. Is that what that is? That the trauma is so entrenched that it's easier to smooth out, you know what I'm saying, iron out the wrinkles than it is with adults?
Well, and also another question to piggyback off of that, Los, is because they experienced it as children, now they've lived all of that pain until they were adults. So would that be a reason why as well?
Absolutely. Like just looking at trauma for what it is, you can look at trauma like the event. So trauma, let's break down trauma.
Yeah.
So in order to understand trauma, you got acute trauma. This is one traumatic event, and that can be devastating in of itself. And we cannot judge people on what they say is traumatic to them. You can bump your knee, right? Or it could be something like sexual assault as a kid. Then the other one is what you call chronic trauma. This is a continual trauma. This is sort of what Phil is highlighting in this song, that I don't want to go home. I don't want to go to this place. Like, I got to experience this. And I give you a good cinematic example. If anyone who's seen the Anton Fisher story, this young man was angry. He was in a foster home and he was being sexually abused, right? And he go back, like, it's continual. Hey, come on in the room. Come on, Anton. He like, oh.
Yeah, but to cut into, you go back to that though, because his wasn't man on young boy. His was grown woman on young boy.
Right.
And this is what happens frequently.
Right.
But as men, we tend to look at that like that's something you give a high five for, or you pat the shorty on his back because he had a grown woman. But if the shoe was on the other foot, if it was your little sister messing with a grown man, we ready to knock dude head off. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
But that's trauma as well, because prior to going to prison at 15, I shared a house with a 22-year-old at 14.
Right.
But we didn't look at it. I did look at it like it was something wrong with it. I thought I had came up. I thought I was a player for it.
Right. And when you say that, that's a perfect pivot, because we know, Robert Kelly, R. Kelly, the things that was happening with him, that's alleged. I mean, he went to court, he's in prison for it. But one thing he said, he had an inappropriate relationship with a female family member, at an early age. So what happens, it messes up the wiring. So that means that it's a young guy out there that's promiscuous now. So he's thinking he didn't have a chance to develop his emotional intelligence to what an intimate relationship is. So he connects it to sex, right? And this become what you call a trauma bond. Right. And as I said, if this situation was going on for a long time, that's a chronic situation. And then you got complex trauma with that. That means there's several different things happening at the same time. Right. So, right? So imagine, for women, and I totally empathize with my women. I'm a father, I'm a grandfather, of daughters and granddaughters, my son. I love all my babies. But we know we extra protective over our babies. This is something that happened to women. And I want to do a disclaimer. And you will have a piece out soon, and it's called Pain Olympics. So one thing I want to pivot on, we are not being egocentric with what we're explaining, but this is a perspective that we got to talk about. What we're looking at it is comparison to everything, but how do you compare? The healthy way to compare is having empathy and compassion. That says, hey, I didn't go through that. This is your story. and I need to walk you through. Well, what we're attempting to do is to walk through the story of men who suffer in silence, the men who are fathers, the men who are sons, the men who you call thugs, the men who you call a criminal, the men who you say, man, they crazy, right? They don't have no platform to say, this happened to me, I want to heal.
I got a question though.
Okay.
In order to suffer, do you need to be aware?
Good point. Good point.
So what I'm saying is, if you went to something that would be traumatic to the common fella, right, as a boy or a man, but it may not affect you that way. Maybe you don't look at it like it's something traumatic, even though you may be dealing with the residual effects of the act or the acts themselves, right?
Yeah.
So would that still be considered suffering in silence, or would you just be like exhibiting the trauma without knowing that you are actually suffering?
Hey, you exactly right. To use myself as an example, so I seen all those things, and when I every time I go back, to the home front in Flint, Michigan, people who know me, they know me, and they tell me this. It was like, Leon, you was bad as hell. Right? It was like, why did, for real, they was like, you was terrorizing like the school, bro. Like, what was
Were
wrong,
you?
man? Why you beat dude up like that? Why you was doing this? And I had to sit back. I was like, I was acting out trauma I could not articulate. You know what I mean? I didn't know it was a problem. And then what we do, especially, this is the stigma of men. You got to be strong. You cannot cry. You cannot be weak. So you got this stuff going on in your heart. You are a human being like anybody else. This is not gender specific. It's about being a human being. And the thing about it, what people would do, you keep putting that off, it's going to stack something else up on it. So now you having problems in your relationship because you don't want to trust and do this, but it's stemming from that issue. You never stop to think about it. Now you got this issue, another one stacked up, another one stacked up. For the viewers, I would tell you, think in your mind of a pyramid that's turned upside down. And at the bottom of this pyramid, that got the tip of it is the traumatic event. Now these layers of bricks is a situation on a situation on a situation. And as you see, when you get to the top base of this pyramid that's upside down, boy, it's a lot of stuff to dig through. But the minute that you start to acknowledge the traumatic moment, to look at it, to revisit it, to get a different perspective of what happened, you can deal with it. And a lot of times people think if I don't touch it, it's cool. Because to get off into that, to pull that scab off, you're like, they re-experience it again. And what happens is the shame, right? The signs of it, right? The signs of it, the shame, the insults, the guilt, the no accountability, pride.
And what this lady said, Miss Nicole, let's read what she said, because you're touching on that right now. So why do females take their anger out on them? It's because something happened in their childhood, or it could be they never had a father figure.
Why do men who have sons don't have a bond with them all, but have love for the other daughter and their daughter? It's different. So what she basically saying is she's asking a question, and it seems like she got her own opinion about the answer to what that question should be. Right? Guys having all this unresolved trauma, all this unresolved, melees that you're going through internally that you don't share with the world, but your significant other, you taking it out on, whether it be in the form of verbal abuse, physical abuse, hell, sometimes even sexually. Right, because bro was just sitting there talking about that. you try to overcompensate oftentimes when you've been through some stuff, right? Especially when you've been through sexual trauma as a kid. When you get older, you trying to show that you are really uber masculine. And you may do this with your significant other by being extremely aggressive sexually, right? Trying to compensate or mask what you've been through because you don't want anybody to potentially pick up on what you have endured.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So you overcompensate in ways that are maladaptive. You know what I'm saying? You get the and that's now you are affecting your significant other with trauma. Right? You have become an infection.
Yeah.
That's what that is. Your trauma is infecting the other people around you because you don't know how to get the help you need, get the healing you need. So come on out, man, and get that shit out, man, and do what's in your best interest. But suffering or continuing to be silent or feeling like you can endure it all, no matter what the world put on your shoulders, you gonna carry it. Yeah, you know, some people go through their whole life like that. Don't mean that they healthy. So if you can get that out and get the healing that you need, man, you might want to go about that because right now, if you aren't getting the healing, and you know if you out here and you done been through something like what we talking about, I done been through my own stuff. You know what I'm saying? And I got people I can talk to though about anything. You know what I'm saying? Without fear of casting judgment. Hell, I really don't even care if they judge. You know what I'm saying? But when you get it out, you feel a lot lighter. So if you could just get it out, then maybe you could change the nature of some of the relationships you have with people. So you don't become a burden, you know what I'm saying, emotionally on people, become an emotional vampire or hell, become a trauma causer yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But yeah, you know, that question right there, that's kind of what I got from that. So
I'm gonna add on to that. And you gave some great stuff. One thing I want to ask you, Carlos, is you said uber masculine. Could you break that down for our viewers?
So what I mean by that is, like, you know, we grew up in the community, man. We from the hood, so we don't miss no words on this show. In the hood, bro, we grew up where everything was. I told on a few shows back, I explained what my 3 pillars of manhood were. Not sure if you were familiar with that, but since you're here, and we probably done talked about this on one of the lockup units years ago. But you know, that was 20 odd years ago. But my 3 pillars of masculinity or manhood were being able to get money, right? Being a hustler, being able to be a womanizer, being able to get the girl, right? Being promiscuous, so to speak, and being extremely aggressive, the potential for whatever kind of violence is necessary, right?
So when you say that, those 3 pillars of man, and that's very relevant. I'm glad you brought that up to what we're talking about. So are you saying these are the 3 pillars of manhood to what society is feeding our young men?
I'm saying these were the 3 pillars of what my manhood meant when I was a child. And as a child, all my peers kind of had the same understanding, even though they probably wouldn't describe them to you as the 3 pillars. But this is what they considered manhood to be. So we looked up to the dope boys. We looked up to the players, the dudes with the girls. And we looked up, you know, we put dudes on a pedestal that we knew was knocking people down out there. That's just the reality. You know what I'm saying? In the hood, this is what it is. And we were homophobic, right? We were homophobic. So we grew up and we encouraged these 3 pillars along with homophobia. So when you put all that together, you got a stew of bullshit. You know what I'm saying? It's toxic. It's emotionally toxic. It's socially toxic. And it's going to be physically toxic because eventually you're going to end up losing your life or putting your body in behind the walls where we spent all them decades. You know what I'm saying? It's that simple. But when you got that and you got peers who growing up around you that have endured the kind of trauma we talking about, now they know they can't trust sharing this with you or them because you just exposed that we don't like these kind of people, right? We don't like, you know what I'm saying, the people who exhibit certain behaviors or certain predilections, right? So when you start talking about that, I can't talk to LB about how my stepdaddy molested me at night because LB gonna look at me like I'm a homosexual, and we already know nobody in the crew likes homosexuals.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So I can't talk to nobody about that if I'm the young boy that's going through that. So now I'm just dealing with this. And now I'm dealing with them on top of being in this crew or being amongst these peers that value these three things that they feel makes them a man. Violence, the money, and the women. So now I'm gonna become a uber masculinity. I'm gonna be as violent as anybody in the crew, so they'll never had a suspicion about what my stepdad doing to me. You know what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? I'm finna try to mac as many women as I can, so that they'll never have any inkling about that I'm being molested at 2 or 3 in the morning. You know what I'm saying? All hours of the day by my uncle or my mother's husband, or you know what I'm saying, whatever's going on, right? And I'm gonna get as much money as I can in order to cover it all up with materiality. This is what we doing. This is what I mean by uber masculinity. And it's all a showcase of the misguided values that we come up on as we shorties in these areas we come from. Now, I ain't saying every shorty embrace that motto. I was just giving an example of how I grew up and what I embraced as manhood prior to going to prison and redefining. You know what I'm saying?
And when you pivot on that, that's a central thing. So we know, like, sometimes what people do, they try to attribute, a lot of bad, attributes and character, to the Black community, to women, to poor people. And the thing is, let's talk about when we center on that trauma, that's a traumatic response.
Absolutely.
That's a response.
Absolutely.
From scarcity trauma, poverty, right? Because now we talking about the strong of the strong, right? You got to pick yourself up by your bootstraps. You got to make it into here. You got to do that. And, a lot of times because of that survival, we got to shut down, right? We got to shut down those feelings. And it's easier to get into them 3 pillars. What I'm going to say, miseducated manhood at the time, because it's easier. I'm aggressive. You ain't going to mess with me. I get all the girls and I get money. Don't look at me. Right. And the sad truth about this is still prevalent throughout this society. We see this with our celebrities. We see this with what I call transactional relationships. So the important thing in this society is what you can do and what you have. It's not about who you are. The most important thing, though, is who you are with the additions of the pain and trauma that you've been through, because it make you that much more better. So I want a man out there. I don't know who I'm talking to, but I'm talking to somebody. We put this together for somebody to be empowered. So instead of you hearing all that trauma, man, you can hear God's voice, that voice within. And what we saying is, your situation isn't your situation. Break the silence so you can liberate another young man, another young woman, right? Just by you having the courage to step up, to work on yourself. And I didn't, forget about what the young lady said. When we don't deal with our inner child, right? We know when we look in the Bible, the Most High in the Quran, the Most High want your first fruits. Have you ever thought about that? Now, me and Los had a long time to think. So I'm going to tell you, right? You never thought of that one out there in the world. But I said, why? Because your first is everything. My clients that come to me in recovery, most of them are suffering from their first sexual encounters, their first relationship, their first marriage, their first time going to school. So when you think about that inner child, if you got those first that's messed up, don't let that be your template. Don't let that be that. You can go and reorganize that by go dealing with your inner self, your child. You need that child, to continue. And what happens when people don't deal with that inner child, it lashes out. That's what you see. That inner child lashing out. That inner child is in a china shop kicking over everything because it's really crying for help, but don't know how to ask because they don't feel safe. And so this is something that's reflected with a lot of young ladies. And remember what I told y'all, this is not Pain Olympics. We are human. But we know that this situation is out there even more broader for our women. And I empathize with my women. And I want that to be known. Because without our mothers, none of us would be here. Let's talk about those sacrifices that the mothers made while we here. But let's go back to the plantation. And I remember the brother Kendrick Lamar, Mr. Morale, which was a very heavy album, but he talked about some real issues that we needed to hear. And one of them was about male sexual abuse. They was raping our young boys on those plantations.
Yep.
Right? They couldn't speak out. They getting right. They like, dang. Killing our collective inner child. Our collective need an inner child that it can play in harmony and be cool and can be curious. So that's the root of it that make people put it on somebody else because they're not dealing with it within themselves. They don't have a platform. And with that, I want to transition a little bit with how this particular trauma for men pushes them into prison.
Hey, can you answer that question that Kurt Wood said?
Okay.
It's for both of y'all. How do you get the young kids today to open up about these type of things when social media is so full of judgment?
By doing what we're doing right here. Right? By doing what we're doing right here, man. You have to show them something different than what the average social media person is doing, right? We not on here to cast judgment. I'm here to open my arms. I'm trying to embrace you, right? No judgment. I'm not in a position to judge. I done made some decisions that cost me my entire life. 75% of my life has been behind walls and razor wire. You understand what I'm saying? 45 years old, went in at 15, came out at 4. So I ain't want to judge you, bro. I done made some poor choices. I done suppressed some experiences. Now I probably haven't been through male on male sexual, trauma, but I done been through my own trauma. You know what I'm saying? Been physically abused. You know what I'm saying? Then been, like I said, been as a kid with older women. Then look at it as abuse, but you don't always know the effects that these things are having on you until they are, and until you become more aware of causation for the things that you're doing, right? And that only happens when you talk about this in a safe place or with people you comfortable with exposing these type of secrets too. You know what I'm saying? Because these are secrets until you don't look at them like you're ashamed of them no more. Once you own it and you remove the shame from it, you can talk about this shit in public or with somebody else, and you can alleviate this kind of burden that you might be carrying. Social media gonna judge everybody, man. You can say you got $1 million, show them $1 million. They gonna judge you for not having 1,000,001. So don't pay attention to social media. You know what I'm saying? Social media is just that.
But he's talking about young kids.
I'm talking about kids in general. If you're looking for validation, social media not the place to do it.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm saying find you somebody that you trust enough that you can share things that you feel like they won't judge you for or ostracize you or make you feel less than you are because of it. And open up to them. And I'm telling you, you're gonna feel a lot better getting this shit off your chest. And then from there, you got to start trying to self-observe, man. Learn who you are. My first thing in the joint, they always said, I self-Lord master, or learn yourself and learn the world. You know what I'm saying? Because as humans, we all have the same emotional spectrum. You know what I'm saying? All of us. That's what makes us, that's the commonality. We share the same emotions in different tempo. All that means is certain things might make me laugh harder than they make you laugh. They might make me angrier than they make you angry. You know what I'm saying? It's just the same emotions in different tempo. This is what makes us individuals. That being said, whatever you going through, you can find somebody, bro, and speak out. Hell, you can reach out to me on here, and we can inbox or whatever if that's what it takes for you to get this shit off your chest to feel better about what's going on. Like that's what we here for. Provide information, providing the opportunity to heal. And if we can't do it and we know somebody who can help you, point you in the right direction. You know what I'm saying? Point blank, period. I ain't saying I got all the answers or all the resources, but I'm saying this is my approach to the things that people are going through and that they ask.
Hey, I really like what you said with that. That's great, man. With some of my work that I do with the youth, and I just was dealing with the youth early. To Kurtwood, and hey, shouts out to the brother Kurtwood. You know, that's another brother, you know, I did a lot of time with, man. We fought to get up out them tombs. Also a brother that was wrongfully incarcerated, still fighting for his justice while he's free. How do you do that? How do we reach the youth? Well, the best ability is availability. You must be available for, I'm not talking, let's make this realistic. I'm not telling everybody to be like me, to be in the community, power to the people, God, be talking to the mayor and all them. It ain't, everybody got different roles. I'm talking realistically. Can you be available to the young men in your family? Can you be available for the young women in your family? Can they call you, be like, Uncle Leon, what's up? And you like, hey, this is what's happening. Hey, let me go build with you. That's what it's about. And people would tend to open up if they know that you care. Only truth can reach the youth. One thing about the truth, man, they recognize it just like a baby. A baby knows spirit. You put that baby in the arms of somebody that's not right, that got bad thoughts and energy, that baby gonna cry. But truth reach the youth. They like, wow. It makes them safe. Provide a safe space. Don't judge them when they speak about themselves. Right? That's a way that you can do it. So think about how this sexual abuse affects, you know, people criminally and pushes people into the journey of incarceration. I really love y'all podcast. I'm very proud of both of y'all. You know, you, Katrina Overstreet, with the work that you've been doing in the community for missing persons, and I pivot, you know, with your missing sister, and you know, you Los, man, coming from where you coming from and where you been at, to start out like this, man, and go. And you know, I know the good, bad, and ugly. And one thing I want to tell you,
don't tell it.
What I want to tell you about that is, when I say that, because I'm one of the few people who can know you like that. And I'm telling the world, hey, you a hell of a man. You coming out here for the people. You reform yourself, and you know what's right. You authentic with it. So what he's saying is real, right? Real. I know it. And for him to come out and do that is really big. So you created this podcast from the sandbox to the cell block. And in this, here go a little bit of data drop. Let's talk about the pipeline to prison. Children who experience abuse or neglect are 49% more likely to be arrested as juveniles and 28% more likely to be arrested as adults. And I pivot on that with you, Carlos, because I know you came in prison as a juvenile.
Yes, sir.
As a juvenile. Let me hit one more drop, and I want you to give people this perspective, because this is a perspective that I cannot give. You the lived experience expert that came out of the other side. Like, everybody don't do it. So violent crime, childhood abuse survivors are 30% more likely to commit a violent crime later in life, often as a maladaptive response to untreated trauma. Right? You mentioned this before. I'm gonna run these down because you know this, but I want your lived experience on this in this session right here. Professionals with lived experience, you know what I mean? This is what I'm pivoting on. You a professional with lived experience. You a professional of subject matter. Nobody can tell you about what solitary confinement is, what prison violence is, what's repression and suppression is, like you with your prison experience. But between 62% and 87% of incarcerated adult males have experienced traumatic exposure prior to their incarceration. So could you speak to the people about that with just framing on you? And you know, people of Indiana, man, they already know the Loaster finna speak. You hear me? And I'm saying that for real. Like this my guy, man.
Yeah.
It's like my little big brother, right?
So
man, correcting my stuff. I'm like, man, you cold. You know what I mean? Hey, I love you, man. Tell him, man.
So check it out. This real shit. So as a youngster, man, I got physically abused by an older male in the home, not sexually, physically. You know what I'm saying? And it put an anger in me because I couldn't react or respond the way that I felt like I wanted to because I was slight in size, didn't have the strength. Like you just underwhelmed me from a physicality standpoint, right? So all this put in me was like, man, when I leave this house and I'm out here and I'm able to respond the way that I want to, then I'm gonna do it and I'm gonna do it times 10. You know what I'm saying? That means I ain't barring none. That means you subject to get fucked up running in the Los out there, not because it's you the cause of it, but because you getting what I just been dealing with at home on top of your little infraction, which might not require the kind of response. It's like an Israel to Palestine response. You throwing rocks and I'm finna throw a missile. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of what it is. I'm overcompensating for what's going on in the household. You know what I'm saying? And then you just snowball that. Now you started mixing that with those pillars we were talking about. So now I got I ain't gonna say a confidence thing, but now I'm trying to overcompensate because you kind of shamed that you are being physically abused. So people starting to notice and they looking at you like, even though they're not saying this, you assuming that they thinking like, oh, this nigga's soft because he not responding to this shit the way that maybe they would. But all this is in your mind because nobody's verbally saying these things. So you got to overcompensate for the perception that you have, right? And you're talking about these 3 pillars again. I keep mentioning them because these are my foundation at the time as a child. Hyper aggression. You know what I'm saying? That means my response to any slight is going to be an overreaction. Point blank, period. You know what I'm saying? If I got that pistol on me, boy, you in trouble. It's that simple. And everybody that know me, they know what I'm talking about. If I got it on me, you in trouble. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to get that money. I'm trying to do whatever I can to mask what's going on in this household because I'm ashamed that this dude is putting his hands on me. And yeah, I done responded to that. You know, I done hit dude with vases and all type of shit. But it's not enough. You know what I'm saying? In my mind, this is not enough. So I'm overcompensating for the abuse that's going on in my household. So I'm feeling some type of way. So because
when you say that, I want
yes, sir.
I want to pivot on something.
Yes, sir.
So you speaking about a domestic case situation like in your past, and you was a younger kid. You couldn't fight. You were a kid.
I couldn't win. I couldn't fight and win. Yeah.
You couldn't win.
Yeah.
And I get that. No, that's huge. And you made a pact to yourself. Nobody. I can see you as a little child. This is not funny, but it's real. It's commendable too. Like, man, when I get old, I'm gonna beat y'all ass. When I get old, I'm and that's what you know what I mean.
That's trauma.
Man,
that's that trauma playing out. But you don't know it's trauma until you can sit back with a conscious mind, with a mind filled with more information than you had when it was occurring, and reflect on it. You know what I'm saying? It took going to prison at 15 years and 2 months old to sit back and be able to reflect on all the causation of my behaviors and my thoughts. Like, why you believe this? My beliefs, I should say. Well, I believe this because well, damn, that don't make sense. You know what I'm saying? Because now I know that this and this don't add up. And this ain't manhood. This is some simp shit. You know what I'm saying? So now you start questioning that. And when it don't make sense, you modify it or you replace it altogether because it doesn't coincide with who you want the world to see you as. See, now we talking about, you was talking about who you are and the way people see you. So we talked about this a couple episodes ago, and I was telling Katrina about reputation and character, right? Reputation is who y'all perceive me to be. This is who y'all see based off what y'all see, right? So y'all form an opinion about who I am based off the acts you have bear witness to, or the shit you hear, even if it's not true, you don't know that, the shit you hear that Los has done, right? So you form an opinion about who I am. That's reputation, right? The character is who I am. Now, you might not see that, but I know that. You know what I'm saying? The people closest to me might know these things. So they might see me completely different than those who see me with this reputation. They gonna be like, oh, this dude violent, or this dude, he's Machiavellian, he's conniving, whatever, right? But the people that know me might be like, oh, this dude kind, this dude to give you the clothes off his back. This dude to give you everything. This dude to go here for you. This dude to break his back to help. This, right? This dude is warm. He's big-hearted. You from the reputational standpoint might not see that.
Yeah.
Or maybe you do. I'm just saying it's two different things. Reputation and character ain't the same. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, let me say something. I want to frame something because I've been looking at the comments, and that was the reason why I asked you that question.
Yep.
Now, Los, you expressed that, you were sexually assaulted by a woman.
No, not sexually assaulted.
Yeah, you were sexually assaulted. You were 14 living in a 22.
Like, you see, hey, this is a stigma we talking about.
Yeah, I just caught that.
Right?
See, and that's exactly what old dude was talking about. Like, if a grown man can't.
But if I wasn't, I'm just making sure that we get that correct.
No.
My old girl.
Wait, no, I got you. Even, and that's a high point, and you know how I be getting down, man. I'm still the same OB, man. LB, we gonna put it in here, but you was already a parable of this. And so I just want to pivot on your lived experience. Early on in this show, you mentioned, the sexual assault with a young lady that was older, too old for you.
I didn't think so at the time, but
right. Yeah. And then you pivoted on being a young person, coming into prison. So these are traumas that's going on in your life. So one of the viewers was like, well, if people talk about it, it ain't enough. But I want to tell the viewer that had that particular comment is, if you do not put it on the floor right here today, Los put it on the floor for the world. So now he's looking. We caught my brother say, no, it would. Yeah, bro. Oh, so it's on the floor. Now the work got to begin. Healing is not an event.
Right.
It's a process.
It's a process. Absolutely.
It's a process. It's a process. And this stigma that's behind men. Even I know people don't want to hear this, but it's true. If you in prison and a female correctional officer have sex with you, that's sexual assault.
Technically.
Right? This is what happened to Vernon Bateman. Vernon Bateman in prison. They had a baby in prison. This chick holding the keys over him like, you better do this because I love you. Like, I'm going to write you up. Right? I mean, it sounds like preposterous, right? But this is something that we put out. And what I'm saying that we understand. Stop playing. Stop hiding behind these facades of gender, of position. We talking about human beings, how they affected. And of course, if somebody do not get their stuff together, people around them will suffer secondhand or what they call vicarious trauma.
That's right.
That's right? You getting all the back end stuff on that. You like, wow, what's happening? You know what I mean? Why am I going through that? Right?
I got a question for you.
Okay.
I've talked to Lois about this. I talked to Kwame about this. How are you out here being, first of all, incarcerated wrongly, and going to the shoe when you wasn't supposed to be in there anyway. Mentally, how are you dealing with that trauma?
Right. What I do with that trauma, what I realize is, and I got a blueprint too. So when I was in there, and I never knew it would come up, Carlos, but I got to pull my receipt on you, right? You had to self-heal. One of my healings was to document where I was coming from. One of the biggest healing points for me was in 2006. And I wrote a piece of the conclusions I came through. The name of the piece was Blessing in Disguise, Soul Surviving.
Right.
And I realized that I'm like, okay, I'm innocent. I'm in prison for a crime I didn't commit. Man, they got me in solitary. Now, on the outside, I'm complexing about this trauma. I'm like, is it something about me? Am I pussy or something? What? And then I began to overcome. I'm like, what you saying about my case? Pop, shut up. What you talking about? So I became egocentric.
Right.
So that means that my pain is bigger than everybody else's pain. I don't care. My empathy is going down. And one day I sat in the cell, and this is like to the victim family member. They gave me a lot of flack. Now I'm from Michigan, Flint, Michigan, Detroit, Michigan, and it's all black up here. Love it. Our president been black. So I didn't have a complex on blackness, coming through in Indianapolis. But Indianapolis is a little bit behind, was then, on racial relations. And, the victim in my case was white. And what happened was, the family, rightfully so, if I was the guy of the system that they believed in committed this, I get why they was mad, but I didn't do it. They cussed me out there. I got a couple, N-words all the time. I was like, damn.
And that's more trauma.
But it took me to sit in solitary one day, and I realized that people over the range, we can't see people. Somebody be like, man, injustice. Man, I'm injustice. I'm just reactionary. Right. I'm like, man. But my big breaking point of this, it didn't start out here, Katrina. It started in there.
Right.
Wow.
How did it start? I got outside of myself. Right. One of the biggest things I thought about, I was like, the victim in my case is dead. He don't got no words.
Right.
I do. Look, I'm writing a letter. And I sent that piece to Carlos. He critiqued it. That's why I'll be like, this is my little big bro. Cold-blooded English dude, right? He was like, man, no, that's how that go. And then was broken. He sent me, I still got up, man. I'm finna throw that away, bro. Look, I'm in my feeling. Right? You did that, though. Great stuff, because we was reading. We scholars, man.
Right.
Of self. And so I continued that path with looking at myself. Personal accountability. Even though I was innocent, had I would have been doing something else. Hey, I could have been doing a million other things. I could have been working on a song. I could have been building a house. But I was outside in the community selling drugs. So that made me accessible to being murdered, to being robbed, to going to prison for life, to being wrongfully incarcerated. But that don't take away what they did to me.
Absolutely.
Just because, look, and I want to tell the victims, and what I'm talking about, do not compare. I'm not comparing my situation to yours. Don't do it like that. No. I mean, I might believe, hey, somebody getting down on me, a dude getting down on me sexually, like, God, you know what I mean? Like, damn, that's a different prison. But what I am sharing with you is I'm just putting trauma for trauma. And at the end of the day, you have to give yourself grace, but have a level of accountability. So as a child, you don't know how to articulate stuff. You didn't know. So end that shame on yourself. Give yourself grace that you was a child. I give myself grace that I was functionally illiterate of the law. I give myself grace that I was being pushed by the traumas of scarcity trauma, of poverty, of the things that happened in the past to get to where I was at. And so that started my healing process. And then as I was able to get outside of myself, to look at myself, you know, I kept going. And so I looked to model to other people what I want people out there to do. My brothers out there, I want y'all to do that. I want y'all to pivot on people who've already made this journey to break the silence. You don't have to come on a podcast to do it. You know, you can go, you know, to your preacher. You can go tell this to your therapist. Therapy is real. And so, Katrina, I'm not saying my journey is bumpy, but it's one of self-accountability, right? I suffer social sensory deprivation. You come home, you don't know certain things. People can play. And then this is what you call betrayal trauma. Betrayal trauma is different. Especially for somebody that's been in solitary that can think. Yeah. You ruminating like, damn, the scenario can be like this. I'm like Dr. Strange. Hey, I did 1 million scenarios. You know what I mean? This is the best one, right?
It's the one that worked.
This is the one that worked. And that's trauma. But you got to get outside of yourself. And what I like to do, Katrina, just for sakes of our subject matter and everything, I like to go into the segment of a blueprint to healing. Yeah. And so this is beyond me, everybody. You know, this is a step-by-step recovery, you know, and you know, Katrina, she definitely, you know, brought in my personal story. I'm still healing. Hey man, shouts out to Demetrius Knuckles L for his new book, I'm Still Healing, right? So look, you got to reframe the shame, moving from what was wrong with you to what happened to you. What happened to you isn't your identity. Right. I'm not, look, I went through prison, I went through abuse, I went through, man, that's not me. Man, I'm Leon Dwayne Benson.
Okay.
LB 448, I am not my trauma. I am not a prisoner. I am not just an exoneree. I am not just a father. I am a person. Y'all are people. You hear me? The other part is find trauma-informed support, peer support. Sometimes you need to hear from people that had similar experiences as you, because it's a different level of empathy that comes with that. So just imagine you got a psychologist who never been through nothing, right? You got a judge that never been to prison, prosecutor, never committed a crime before, never asked for forgiveness. How can they really judge you? Mm-hmm. How can somebody tell you to put on some tennis shoes they never wore and try to lace your shoes? Right. Martin Luther King said it best. One of the most dangerous things in the world is sincere ignorance. Conscientious stupidity. That latter part, conscientious stupidity, what that is somebody really thinking they doing the right thing, but they hurting you. Right. So go to your peers. You know, it's a lot of you know, mental health, you know, organizations and everything out there. You will notice on the video, you know, I shared the video of the last bill. You got a lifeline, you know, it's the National Sexual Assault Hotline, and that's 1-800-656-HOPE or 4673. I mean, find these resources. They out there, you know what I mean? And like I say, you know,
let's say that number again.
Yeah,
make sure that everybody gets it. And I'll also put it in the comments in the chat as well. We need to.
And it's so much. It's so much more on the floor. What I'm trying to inspire. That's all we can do is inspire. Mm-hmm. Certain behavior is we can go in the back room, y'all, and we can talk about it. And you got to have a safe space. Right? Somebody that's telling all their business all the time, they not safe. Mm-hmm. You talk too much.
Right.
You talk too much to the wrong people. You need a safe space where you won't be judged that you don't, if you feel like you being judged, don't go there. It's how you feel. But the biggest thing is you are not what happened to you. You are not that. You are not poverty. You are not sexual assault. You are not trauma. You are a human being. And that's what Philip Stroud, you know, I talked to him over the phone a few weeks ago when he was able to call, and he said, with this song, that's what I wanted to put out here, to let people know it's about who you are. That little boy, that little girl that's inside you, I want that to come out. I know exactly who I am. I'm Leon. I got the voice. I'm penetrating you. I was made to do that. That's what I do. We want to heal. We gonna break you up out them prisons. Not the prisons physically, but the prisons that's built of shame, low self-esteem, you know, insecurity, distrust. And we want you to come to the light of healing. Your scars ain't you. They a part of you, but they bigger than you. You bigger than your scars. You a perfect reflection of the Most High. Not all the way perfect, but you perfectly imperfect.
Ooh, you
want to recite poetry, y'all? What you doing?
No, I just had a fourth wall. I'm looking at it. I felt the spirit like it's somebody that I'm looking at out there in the world that need to hear this.
I need to hear
I'm talking about my chest is so warm. I feel like fighting for you, bro. I feel like bumping. You hear me? Like, oh man. If I find out, man, let me know. And let me say this too. And I'm wrong for that. Let me say that. Let me catch myself.
That was in jest. We know that was in jest.
Let me catch myself. The reason why I say that, the reason that was in jest because of this. We talking about healing. Now, I've heard from a lot of women, survivors of sexual assault, that they didn't want to tell their fathers because they was afraid their father would have did something. And I'm sure that some of the young men out there feel like, man, I don't want you to go out there and like get yourself in trouble, or I don't, you know what I mean? So, you know, I get it for our young people out there, you know, I want, you know, but I'll fight for you.
Hey, but look, but before we get off here, but that's a serious subject to address right there, because a lot of people don't suffer in silence because they are ashamed. They suffer because they fear of the reaction from the people that they let know, right? So if you are somebody who happen to have brothers that are like us, or fathers that are like us, and they feel like, well, damn, if I let my Uncle LB know that this old man or this old, you know what I'm saying, was over here touching on me when I spent nights in my cousin's house type stuff, and they know LB to be the hothead LB, not the conscious LB, the hothead LB, you know what I'm saying, that's willing to do anything to anybody who infringes upon the respect of the people he loves. Yeah, I'm not gonna tell my uncle that. I'm trying to keep my uncle from fucking dude up. You know what I'm saying? So I might just have to deal with that and deal with it however I deal with it. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to get my uncle or my big brother or my father, you know what I'm saying, in a situation that they can't get out of. And then I feel guilty with some more trauma, you know what I'm saying, added trauma, that I done got my uncle life in the joint. Or I done got him 50, 60 years. Or I done got him killed. He done went over here and got his shit knocked off. You know what I'm saying? So that's going on too. And it's a lot. It's a lot of moving parts when you start talking about male trauma. Because we so egotistical, right? Well, I can't be the one to get Unc in trouble. Or I can't be, whether we talking about shame or we talking about fear of the consequences to my people that I let know what's going on. Yeah. Like it's a lot going on there, bro.
And I like that. And I also want to pivot just a nod at what we know, what we went through on the inside. You know, everybody don't make it.
No.
And what I mean is you can make it out here physically, but you lost. The worst thing, the tragedy in life is not a man dying. It what dies in him while he lives.
That's right.
And there's some people that's walking a walk of shame, not only because of what happened to them sexually or just coming to prison, but what they allowed to take place while in there. You know, they manhood, you know, they pride, they was defeated. And I think what we're doing, Los, is something that's really needed. Where you got some certified brothers that's been through the trenches, that's certified, that's saying, that's not right.
Right.
Nah, we gonna protect. That's what we was put here for. That's one of the obligations I made with God. See, people be making Faustian deals with the devil. Right? You heard the old crossroad things with our good old brother Robert Johnson, the famous guitarist. He sold his soul to the devil to play forever. No, I gave my soul to the Most High to say, what do I need to do? And I'm coming out here to heal. And a big part of that healing is to show a healing masculinity. It's an attack on masculinity out here too, to be able to have a voice that roar. You know, we'll go in and out. Los, you do it too. I'm seeing a reflection of me. I'm like, damn, I be doing that too. You be like, yeah. Ooh. You know, people out here, they will envy that. And the envy, I'm going to go broader. We know, man, that the masculinity, man, of people of color, men, have been undermined, right? They want you to cross-dress. They want you to be everything but what the Creator made you to be. And that's a protector of your community. That's a healer. That's somebody with understanding. We ain't going with that Eurocentric construct of what a man is because we knew what it was from the beginning. We taught civilization of what manhood really should be. And from our last account from it, what I heard was that matriarch was first. We knew that our mother was valuable. Right. We knew that our daughters was valuable.
Top of the pedestals.
On the pedestal. And it's a level of surrender on both sides. I must surrender to the power of that femininity, as she must surrender to the power of the masculinity. It's not one bigger than the other one or lower than the other. It's a yin-yang.
It's harmony.
Right? Yeah. And so I want to highlight that. And that's a big reason why, you know, when you under attack, you notice, I'm going to tell you something too. This is specifically for the community of color. So our manhood as a collective is under attack. So you don't see Black male leaders in spaces that you want to see. You know, we had Barack Obama. That was cool. That's a good impression. I like the sentiment of it. You know, he was there. I'm like, dang. But you don't have that. You got a lot of us attacked going to prison. So that leaves our community vulnerable.
Yes.
So now we have women, and I want to give a shout out to my women again. Women out there that's getting it from the mud, that's out there raising your family, the matriarchs, you know what I mean? Man, shout out to Valerie Buford, man. You know, Queen Sis came through and rescued me and shit.
Man, for real.
You know, hey, I told you I was gonna plug you, man. Shouts out to Colleen Shane, you know, for being a big advocate for a brother. You know, shouts out to my mama. But my point is, with us not being here, right? Shouts out to you, Katrina. I know you. So, man, hey, we gonna give mama shots out because we got to have that same nurturing, you know, vibe as men. You know, we got to take from that feminine to nourish, you know, our young people. But while we under attack, this has made a imbalance in our community right now, and I love it, man. The most successful person in U.S. society, you know, by capita, is Black women. Black women got the degrees, they got the position, they getting the power, they doing their thing. So what happens with that is they have become more masculine. Yeah. So you can't tell me what to do. Who is you?
Pardon the body. But when you say that, you have to define what masculine means.
Masculine means to have manly qualities,
like
or be ultra aggressive that usually come from a man. So in this sense, power
I don't
is
know
power.
about that. When I define
Right,
masculinity,
no, check me out. Hey, Katrina, if you are the queen, right? You Nefertiti. No, here's a better example. Cleopatra. She had to be masculine in her role as a ruler. She had to. She was feminine.
Yes.
Feminine is not a gender thing. We ain't talking about gender, y'all. We talking about the energy of masculinity and femininity, because the art of war, I must be feminine.
I can agree. I can agree with that.
You see,
I can agree with that.
So
but
these are the things that we don't understand, because we got a construct of a Eurocentric, capitalistic, plastic perspective.
no, and I'm gonna give you this, and do with it as y'all may.
Dang, I ain't want to do that, Los.
When I think about masculinity in a woman, it means I don't need a man for shit. I can take care of my household. I can mow the yard if I had a yard. I can raise the kids. However, with me saying that, that does not mean I don't think that there should be a man and a woman in a household. But I'm saying that's how I feel masculinity is.
Let me hit on that though, because that masculinity you described is exactly what I'm finding out here in these little 5 months I've been out of prison. I'm finding women that'll flat out tell you, like, if you can't meet A, B, C, and D requirements in order to be with me, I don't need you, because I don't need you for no cash. I got my own. I can do this. I can do that without. That's the masculinity you describe.
Yeah, it is. But that doesn't. But they're telling you that. They're telling you. I'm sorry.
That's what I've been encountering. You telling me what masculinity is?
You're right.
He's saying he's seeing a more masculine woman today, right? They've assumed the masculine roles that men used to.
Now that's it.
When men used to be the guiders and the leaders of their households, of their communities, of their children, right? What he's saying is women now have that baton, and they have taken up that being the leaders of the household, the children, the community.
But you know why?
And they said, we understand why, because the system has been systemically removing us from the frame. Exactly. We are no longer in the picture. Exactly. And when we come back worse than when we went in. Most of us. We don't have the acumen to be the leader in our households or the community or over children when we go through the trauma that we go through after spending so many years or decades inside these tombs, right? Or under the influence of a substance that fractures us, right? You come out here and the woman has then passed you by. She done got 2 or 3 degrees, 6-figure incomes, 2 or 3 homes, and she done this while raising children. So if you can't come into her life and at least match what she done brought to the table, a lot of these women like, nigga, please. You know, that's how they coming. That's the kind of masculinity I got that he was describing.
And I can understand that. And this is how, when you said it, what's going on in my mind, which is something that I tell a man too. I can do all this by myself. I don't need you. I desire you. So don't get it twisted. Just know it's not, I need you for this, and this. It's, I desire you. That's why I'm into you. I'm dating you. I'm calling you. I'm texting. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of what I get from what you said. When you and I agree with you.
Again, Katrina, you have reflected the trauma of our women. Because now you got to go out your way. And I still want to pivot on a key point that I'm finna say why this stigma is here. But I'm glad we segue into that. In these communities of color that are under attack. This is a derivative of that. So what happens is you had to do it alone. I had to do this on my own. You know, I got it. You know, he wasn't there. So now it's a level of resentment. So now it's a trauma. So now if you have leverage, let me talk to my brothers that's returning home. Because people will have a leverage over you. And you don't know how to command right. Because you letting that out. Well, you need to have a car right now. I'm like, damn, you need to do this. Well, get out of my face. That's the bad part of it.
No,
The good part of it is you just moving in a direction the way you're moving. But what I wanted to highlight, the reason why, because you spoke about this earlier, if you homosexual in this community. Well, the reason why, and this is a statistic from everybody, when people of color are male that are feminine or things like that, or if they in the LGBTQ community, hey, shouts out to my community, is no slights. We talking about what is happening on the ground,
Right.
and especially with this male sexual abuse, why people don't come out, because now you are already knocked down anyway. So if you come out and show another weakness, the people devour you. They like, oh man, we don't need you in here. You making us look bad. It's something that's in the back of our mind. And I sat and I thought about that. While I was inside, I'm like, man, you see something. I'm like, man, it came out, certain people, were gay. I'm like, okay, like, dang, dog, gay. Like, I can't believe that. Like, I didn't think he'd be gay. But then with other cultures, like with the white cultures, and then I'm like, well, okay. And I just move on. Hey, what's up, dude? But it's an insult. It's an insult to the collective conscious for a man to come out and say, I was abused.
Mm-hmm.
I was molested when I was a kid. Well, I went to prison and I got raped. Somebody, people don't share those stories because they will get shamed in this community, because this just didn't happen overnight, y'all.
Right.
This is systemic. And now it's placing our women and men against each other. When I have a conversation with women, I'm not topping. And what you call topping is, Katrina, you shared that with me. Well, I had something in my life that went like this. And I want to commend you, Katrina, for this discussion. You had all the opportunity. And I know you got real lived experience. You got expertise with the stuff that you do in the community about, female sexual abuse. And I think you told me that what's the percentage of men who are human trafficked?
Oh, it's a lot. I don't even remember the exact number.
Okay.
But it's more than women.
Yeah. And so, but you didn't. We ain't having no Venus versus Mars.
Right.
This is not what we on. We got to heal as a collective. So even in this, and you had that thought, and it came out subconscious, it's caught on tape. You're like, wait, hold up. Hey, I got to get mine. You better have this, that, and this.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's the brother, like, dang. Like, roles of power, you would have to do that, and you would know somebody is truly hurt because they will give people handouts but don't know how to put somebody on. It's different. Oh, you can use my car? Man, make sure that man gets some insurance so he can ride his own.
Yeah.
He gonna contribute to it. Let's get this together.
Yes.
Man, don't give him no spending money. Say, look, if you put together this plan right here, I got this money to give you into that dream.
Mm-hmm.
Knock it down. This is what you do. And it's vice versa for men and women.
Right.
Me, myself, like I say, man, I got no qualms about, hey, look, like I said, man, I love that my sisters, my mothers, been holding it down. And this ain't nothing new, right? But I'm just here to tell you that I am your co-creator. I am here to assist you. I am your helpmate.
Absolutely.
Allow me to be me. And I want to allow these young men, these young women that's going through trauma, I want y'all to be yourselves. You know what I mean? And just do, capacity checks about trauma. And it's a process. I go to therapy. I speak with people. I got mentors. I got mentees. And I'm working it out. So it's proof out there between the three of us, because I know all the things you've been through, Katrina. You know, and I still send condolences, you know, to you and your family and everything, you know. So I really appreciate this. This kind of therapy. I don't need to go to therapy. I need to tap into
No, don't say that. Don't say that.
to the cell block. You hear me?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. It is 4:25 and Los has not said a word about the time.
I've been enjoying the time with my brother.
Los be like,
We ain't
trying to go.
got to kick it like this, and especially about something so deep, right?
Yeah.
I've been enjoying it. But you know,
man, I appreciate it. I think a lot of people, and I got to be real because I got to look at academia really close. And I want to tell the brothers out there, you know, prison is an intellectual desert. You know, mainly because people can't get the resources. But I was blessed to have the resources to get the books I want. You did. And oftentimes what we did in this act of alchemy, because we transformed a prison cell into a university. And I remember, man, we would read books and we had these symposiums over the range where people got their input. What about that? What? And that's kind of like what we just did here. And that's why, hey, Los, no. I flashed about 3 times. I just went somewhere and came back. That was me sitting in there because it's never going to go nowhere. Because remember, I can't touch you. So it's right here.
Right.
They can't take that from me.
Nah, that's ours to keep. That's ours to go away with. Or
right.
Pass
and that's what we doing, man. We using that knowledge because those years you was in there, it's quantum. So if you did 10, 12 years in solitary confinement and you had a focused study on a lot of things, that's probably like 30 years worth of stuff.
That's true. Yeah.
That's 3 times the mastery qualifications.
Yes, sir.
In some things, but you know you lagging in some social sensory deprivation, right? You like, the garage door is broke. Look, you can beat up people, right? You can organize something like the garage door is broke.
Damn, who do I call?
Google. What you want me to do? Like
YouTube.
Let me go to Home Depot. So now I'm learning that now. I'm learning that. And then you gonna bump into it too. Look, hey, they gonna put you on blast like my tire fell off my car. I'm like Leon versus the tire. Hey, look, you should have seen me and Vern and a dude named Derek Ford. Man, we popped the tire in Indianapolis. I'm talking about Dumber and Dumber. All of us like, you know, falling over. I'm like, you know, right? But again, we are still bumping into society. See, society is so fake and unforgiving. Let's say that. So on one, you know, you would have people say, "Lead me, please lead me." I'm like, how the hell can where are we going? I'm trying to figure out where I'm going. So stop that. Then you will have people that'll say, well, you a man, you're supposed to fix things. You're supposed to know this. Well, guess what? I'm just now reacclimating. And what happens with that is shame baiting, trauma bonds, right? Silence. Yeah, maybe I shouldn't say that. And again, you got to what we say in there, catch up with your crowd. We just got to catch up with our crowd. It's a lot of resources out there, you know, and it's a lot of resources for, you know, the victims out there, you know. Again, you know, hey, shots out to Philip Stroud. You know, if anybody want to reach out to him, he's at the state prison in Indiana. You know, Philip Stroud. You know, you can look him up on the computer or whatnot. But he did a phenomenal job bringing that song and helping us to manifest this subject. I will be taking this subject to seminars, to panels here in Detroit. And I'm looking for partners. And I'm looking for people that want to tell their story. We are looking for people that want to tell their story. Mm-hmm. I don't necessarily have a background like that. I understand it. It's in families. I got brothers that's in there. And I want one more thing I want to say. For all my brothers. Because you can't say it, I'm going to say it for you. Come on. This is the final stage of liberation. We came on this show today to liberate. I want you to be liberated. You liberate your mind, you're going to liberate your body. You liberate your body, you can liberate the community. Liberate the community, we can liberate the world.
Yes,
by one account, self-accountability at the time. And this accountability that I'm talking about, and the challenge that I leave you is to say, you are bigger and better than whatever happened to you.
And that goes for women too, not just the brothers, it's the sisters.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, for the sisters
All
too. It's
inclusive.
for everybody.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, y'all. I got a little emotional, right?
Listen,
I don't even want to do that.
Fighting back tears.
I don't want to cry, like, because he looked like he was finna cry a little bit. I'm like, I ain't finna do that. It's all, you can't be crying in front of Los. You know what I mean? Like, I'm the first person to cry. No, I'm just playing, y'all.
Nah, I'm sitting here wiping tears because you hit me with something. Listen, you are not your trauma.
Not your trauma.
I like that.
Anyway, shoot.
That's
You're not.
Girl, we on grow up. Grow up.
Love y'all. We're gonna get out of here by playing.
Assalamu alaikum to the Sunnah, Islam to the Moors, peace and love to the body.
Ain't no question, man. Hey,
sit.
I don't remember the moment. I remember the after. The way rooms got smaller. The way laughter got faster. I remember learning exit before I learned names. How I laughed at the wrong time so nobody could explain. I got good at reading weather in the middle of the room. Every silence felt loaded. Every kindness felt doomed. I didn't have language, so I folded the sound. Put a lock on my throat and swallowed it down. Nobody told me what to call what I felt, so I called it nothing and blame myself. After the last bell, I stayed where I stood. Everybody went home. I learned how not to. I learned how to smile with my hands in my sleeves. Learned how to disappear without ever leaving. I learned jokes before honesty, timing before trust. I learned how to flinch, but not who to discuss. I could feel it in echoes, in the way doors would close, in the way I stayed alert, even half asleep at home. I thought if I stayed agreeable, I'd stay safe. If I stayed small, I wouldn't take up space. So I practiced being easy, practiced being numb, practice not needing what I already lost once. They said time heals everything, but time just passed, and I learned how to live like it never exists. After the last bell, I stayed where I stood. Everybody went home. I learned how not to. I learned how to laugh at the edge of a joke. Learned how to keep secrets I never spoke. It wasn't one night, it was every night after. It wasn't the sound, it was what happened to laughter. It wasn't my body, it was what it learned. How to lock every door, how to stay unconcerned. After the last bell, something closed in me. I kept showing up, but I'm fully seen. I didn't break loud, I broke discreet. I just learned how to carry it quiet and deep. Some things don't end, they just stop ringing.